Hey folks, it's your friend SpiderFish again. Welcome back to my channel, your calm corner of the internet where the Minecraft blocks stack quietly in the background and all you need to do is sit back, relax and listen to a story. Tonight I've got a collection of Reddit tales for you. They're funny, sometimes a little messy, sometimes heartfelt and always entertaining. So let's dive into our first story of the night. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for locking the snack cabinet my roommates keep raiding? I live in a shared house with 3 roommates. We're all in our 20s, mostly getting by on entry-level jobs and instant ramen, so you'd think we'd all have a basic understanding of respecting each other's stuff. You'd think, I, unfortunately, live with food thieves. When I moved in, I was excited. The rent was affordable, the location was decent, and everyone seemed chill during the initial meetup. We agreed on a few ground rules. Clean up after yourself, rotate chores, and keep food separate unless we specifically agreed to share. For the first month, it was fine. Then the disappearances started. The first thing to go missing was a box of granola bars. I'd just bought them, 12 shiny peanut butter chocolate chip beauties. I ate 2. A week later, the box was empty. At first, I thought maybe I'd been snacking more than I realized. Stress eating is a real thing. But then I found the empty box stuffed behind the cereal. Not recycled, not thrown away, just hidden. Like the thief was trying to erase the evidence, but ran out of stealth points halfway through. Next was the milk. I drink oat milk, specifically. I'm lactose intolerant, and if I drink real milk, I'll regret it for the next 12 hours. One morning, I went to pour some oat milk for my coffee, only to find the carton almost empty. And when I tipped it over, it wasn't even oat milk anymore. Someone had topped it off with cow milk. That meant 2 things. My roommates were trying to cover their tracks. One of them was trying to kill me. I confronted the house in the group chat. Hey guys, whoever's drinking my stuff, can you please stop? I need oat milk for health reasons. The responses rolled in, wasn't me LOL. Who even drinks that stuff? Maybe you're just using more than you realize. Classic guilty behavior. By month 3, it was war. My cereal, gone. My frozen pizza, vanished. My leftovers, raided. It was like living with raccoons that had learned how to use Venmo. So I invested in a lockable cabinet. A heavy-duty, metal 2-door beast with a padlock. I bolted it to the wall in the pantry and moved all my non-refrigerated food inside. For the fridge, I got a lockable storage box, yes, those exist, and slid it onto the shelf. It was a little ridiculous, sure, but finally my food was safe. Or so I thought. The roommates noticed immediately. Whoa, dude, seriously? You locked up your snacks? Kind of paranoid, don't you think? One of them, Jared, actually had the nerve to say, "We're supposed to be friends, not cellmates." To which I replied, "Friends don't steal each other's oat milk and try to assassinate their digestive systems." They acted offended, like I was the unreasonable one, like me protecting my own food was somehow a bigger violation than them eating it. Now the house is divided. Jared and another roommate, Kyle, keep making snide comments. Hey, better ask permission before touching the communal salt. Don't want to get arrested. Meanwhile, the third roommate, Sam, privately admitted he thinks it's fair. He said, "Honestly, man, you're the only one buying real groceries. They treat you like their personal Costco." Things came to a head last week. I came home to find Jared standing in front of my cabinet with a screwdriver. "Dude," I said, "what are you doing?" He froze like a raccoon caught in the trash. Then he said, "I was just, tightening the screws." With a flathead screwdriver. On a padlock. He had no comeback. I told him if he ever tried that again, I'd move out and report him to the landlord for property damage. He sulked off, muttering about how I was making the house toxic. Now the vibe in the house is frosty. Jared and Kyle think I'm an uptight control freak. Sam's on my side, but keeping quiet. And me? I'm just tired of feeling like I have to guard my snacks like they're crown jewels. So, Reddit, Am I the a-hole for locking up my food, or are my roommates just salty they lost access to their free buffet? This one is so relatable, it hurts. Food theft in shared living situations is basically a rite of passage. But topping off oat milk with regular milk? That's not just rude, that's borderline assault. Here's the thing, respect in a shared house comes down to boundaries. If someone can't respect your groceries, how can you trust them with rent, bills, or even basic cleanliness? You're not paranoid, you're protecting yourself. Honestly, the lockable cabinet might seem extreme, but it's just a visible reminder that trust has already been broken. If Jared and Kyle feel offended, it's because they got caught. They weren't mad about the lock, they were mad about losing access to free snacks. Verdict? Not the a-hole, just someone who wants to eat their granola bars in peace. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for pretending not to know my coworker was dating my ex? So here's a messy little cocktail of workplace drama, bad timing, and my complete inability to keep a poker face. I, 27F, work at a mid-sized marketing agency. It's one of those we're a family type places, which really just means people gossip too much and everyone knows who forgot to refill the coffee machine. A couple of months ago, we hired a new guy, Ryan. Nice enough, kind of quiet, always wears plaid like it's a uniform. He's good at his job, blends in quickly, and mostly keeps to himself. Until one Friday, when I heard him talking to another coworker about his girlfriend. Now, office gossip is basically currency, so my ears perked up. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but when someone says, "Yeah, she's amazing, I don't know how I got so lucky," it's hard not to tilt your head like a curious dog. And then he said her name. Her name. My ex. For context, my ex's name is Leah. We dated for 2 years in our early 20s. She was smart, ambitious, and had this habit of humming along to elevator music that was either adorable or infuriating depending on the day. But she was also intense. Everything with her was high stakes. If I forgot to text back within an hour, she'd spiral. If I disagreed with her about something as small as which detergent worked best, she'd treat it like a betrayal. We loved each other, but it was exhausting. Eventually, we broke up, messily. We didn't scream or throw plates, but the tension was thick. The last conversation we had, she said, "You'll regret this. You'll never find someone who cares about you the way I do." And then she blocked me on everything. I figured that was the end of it. Until Ryan showed up, grinning about his amazing girlfriend, Leah. The second I heard her name, I froze. I must have looked like someone had unplugged me mid-sentence, because my coworker noticed and asked if I was okay. I laughed, way too loudly, and said, "Fine, totally fine." Then I power walked to the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror like I'd just seen a ghost. Part of me wanted to warn Ryan. Part of me wanted to pretend I'd never heard. And a very small, petty part of me wanted to sit back with popcorn and watch the inevitable chaos unfold. The situation escalated at our company's monthly happy hour. Ryan showed up with, you guessed it, Leah. She walked in like she owned the place, arm hooked around his, smiling at everyone like she'd just stepped onto a red carpet. When her eyes landed on me, she froze for half a second. Then she smiled wider. "Oh my God," she said, loud enough for several people to hear. "You work here?" Ryan looked between us, confused. "Wait, you two know each other?" Leah didn't miss a beat. "Oh, we go way back, don't we?" I smiled, equally fake. "Yeah, way back." And that was it. She didn't elaborate. I didn't elaborate. We just stood there, grinning like two spies in a Cold War standoff, while poor Ryan blinked between us, completely lost. On Monday, Ryan came by my desk, looking sheepish. "So, Leah told me you guys used to be friends." I sipped my coffee like it was the most important beverage in the world. "Something like that." He nodded slowly. "Cool, just wanted to, clear the air." And then he shuffled away. But here's the thing. Now he keeps looking at me like I'm a ticking time bomb. Like at any moment I'm going to pull him aside and drop the truth. She's my ex. Run while you can. Meanwhile, Leah has been ramping up the subtle power plays. She accidentally liked one of my old Instagram posts from 3 years ago. She made a point of telling Ryan, in front of me, that he's so much more attentive than anyone she's ever dated. And once, while walking past me at the office, she whispered, "Be nice." So far, I haven't told Ryan the truth. I haven't said, "Hey, fun fact, your girlfriend once broke up with me because I bought the wrong brand of peanut butter." But now it feels like I'm lying by omission. Like every time I smile and say, "Nice to meet you" at a work event, I'm withholding a ticking bomb. Some of my friends say I should tell him, not out of pettiness, but out of fairness. He deserves to know his girlfriend has history with a coworker. Others say I should keep my mouth shut because, honestly, it's not my circus anymore. But every time Leah smirks at me across the office, I feel like I'm being pulled back into a game I didn't agree to play. So Reddit, am I the eye-hole for pretending not to know my coworker's girlfriend is actually my ex? Or is it none of my business anymore? This one's deliciously messy. On the one hand, you don't owe Ryan the full history of your love life. On the other, Leah clearly wants you to spill, or at least wants you to feel uncomfortable. She's treating it like a competition, which says a lot more about her than about you. Here's the truth. You're not obligated to say anything unless it directly affects Ryan's work or well-being. If Leah's the same high-drama person she was before, Ryan will figure it out soon enough. But if you do decide to say something, keep it factual. No peanut butter anecdotes, no shade, just, "We used to date. Thought you should know that way." You stay classy, and Leah loses her power. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for refusing to play along with my girlfriend's secret twin prank? When you're dating someone funny, you expect a certain amount of pranks. The occasional whoopee cushion, the jump scare around the corner, the fake spider in the shower, whatever. But my girlfriend Sophie took things to a whole new level. She didn't just prank me, she invented a twin. It started innocently enough. We'd been dating for about 6 months, and she was always cracking jokes, always trying to get a laugh. One day, we were walking downtown when a stranger said, "Hey, Sophie." She grinned and replied, "Oh, you must mean my twin, Sophia. I'm Sophie." The stranger looked confused, muttered, "Sorry," and walked away. I chuckled, thinking it was a one-off gag. But it wasn't. Soon, Sophie was introducing Sophia everywhere. If she was in a bad mood, she'd say, "Sorry, Sophia's visiting today." If she wanted to cancel plans, she'd text, "Sophia doesn't feel like going out." If she was caught eating the last cookie, she'd shrug and say, "Classic Sophia move." At first, I laughed. It was cute, a running joke. But then she started dragging me into it. When we met her co-workers for drinks, she introduced me with, "This is Alex, my boyfriend. He hasn't met Sophia yet, but I promise she's wild." Everyone laughed. I laughed too, nervously. But then, a week later, one of her co-workers asked me, "So, how's it going, dating twins?" I froze. Sophie really leaned into it. She created a whole persona. According to her, Sophia was reckless, flirty, irresponsible. She drank too much, she skipped work, she dated dangerous men. Meanwhile, Sophie was the good twin, responsible, caring, stable. Except here's the thing. Sophie sometimes acted out Sophia's traits. If she drank too much at a party and flirted with someone, she'd say, "Don't blame me. That was Sophia." It was like she'd built herself a scapegoat. The prank hit its peak at her cousin's wedding. We were seated at a table with her extended family, most of whom I'd never met. During dinner, Sophie leaned over and whispered, "By the way, they think I'm a twin. Go with it." Before I could protest, her aunt asked me, "So, have you met Sophia yet?" The whole table turned to look at me. My brain short-circuited. I had two choices: blow Sophie's cover and embarrass her in front of her family. play along with the most elaborate lie I'd ever been dragged into. I chose option 3. I choked on my wine and said, not yet? Everyone nodded knowingly, like I'd just been initiated into some bizarre secret. Later that night, Sophie disappeared for 20 minutes. When she came back, she ruffled her hair, smudged her lipstick and announced, "Sophia's here." She changed her voice slightly, dropped her shoulders like she was playing a role, and introduced herself to me like we'd never met. Her entire family cheered. They clapped. They embraced her like she was a long-lost sibling. I just stood there, stunned, holding a plate of cheesecake while my girlfriend pretended to be her own twin. After the wedding, I told Sophie this had gone too far. "You're lying to your whole family," I said. "This isn't a prank anymore. It's identity theft. Against yourself." She laughed. "Oh, come on, it's harmless. They love Sophia. It's fun." "Fun?" I said. "Your uncle gave Sophia his business card and said to call if she ever needed a job." Sophie shrugged. "Networking." I put my foot down. "I'm not playing along anymore. If you want to keep this up, that's on you. But I'm not lying to your family, your friends, or your co-workers." She pouted, genuinely upset. "So you don't support my sense of humor?" "It's not humor," I said. "It's a second life." Now she's mad at me. She says I embarrassed her by refusing to keep up the joke. She says if I really loved her, I'd play along. Meanwhile, her family still texts me things like, "So great to finally meet Sophie. Can't wait to meet Sophia too." I don't know what to do. Do I blow her cover and tell everyone the truth? Do I keep pretending she has a twin until this spirals into a full Netflix documentary? Or do I just walk away from a relationship where my girlfriend is essentially catfishing her own family? This one is pure chaos. Funny, but also kind of alarming. At first, it's a harmless joke. But once you're faking entire personalities at weddings, introducing Sophia to relatives, and using her as a scapegoat for bad behavior, it crosses into giant red flag waving in the wind. The wildest part? Her family's in on it. They're cheering her on. Which means if you reveal the truth, you're the villain who killed Sophia. That's a terrible position to be in. Here's the thing. Pranks are supposed to end. They're supposed to have a punchline. If the joke just keeps going indefinitely, it stops being funny and starts being delusional. If Sophie wants to keep Sophia alive, that's her choice. But you're not wrong for refusing to be her accomplice. Verdict? You're not the a-hole. You're just dating someone who desperately needs to retire their alter ego. Story 4. Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit my sister's practice baby? Some people borrow sugar. Some people borrow lawnmowers. My sister decided to borrow parenthood. My sister, Emma, is 31. She's been married for a couple of years, and she and her husband have been talking non-stop about having kids. Totally normal, right? The twist? They decided they weren't ready for the real thing yet. So they got a practice baby. And by practice baby, I don't mean a doll. I don't mean one of those high school home ec robots that cries at 3 a.m. I mean, they convinced their friend to let them foster his dog's new puppy as training. But it didn't stop there. They gave the puppy a crib. They bought baby bottles, filled them with formula, and tried to feed him like an infant. They dressed him in onesies. They pushed him in a stroller around the neighborhood while whispering, "Shh, baby's sleeping." It was unsettling. At first, I thought, okay, it's just a phase. People get weird when they're excited about becoming parents. Maybe this is their way of easing into it. But then Emma called me one afternoon and said, "Hey, can you babysit this weekend?" I assumed she meant their puppy. And I said, "Sure, no problem." But when I showed up, she handed me a laminated binder labeled Baby Care Manual. The binder was 50 pages long. I wish I were exaggerating. It had sections like feeding schedule, 7 a.m., 11 a.m., 3 p.m., 7 p.m. Approved lullabies, no rock music, no swearing. Diaper protocol. Yes, they put the puppy in diapers. Emergency contacts, her husband, and their pediatrician, And taped to the back was a handwritten note that said, "Don't forget tummy time. Baby loves tummy time." I blinked at the binder. "Emma, this is a dog," she gasped. "Don't call him that in front of him." I lasted 1 weekend. 1. The puppy was adorable, don't get me wrong. But the rules were insane. If I fed him from a bowl instead of the bottle, Emma got mad. If I let him nap on the couch instead of in the crib, she texted me 17 times. "Is baby safe? Is baby swaddled?" At one point, I took him outside for a walk like a normal person. A neighbour stopped to pet him, and I said, "Yeah, he's my sister's puppy." Emma overheard and pulled me aside later, furious. "You can't just out him like that," she hissed. "He's not a puppy. He's our practice child." I laughed, thinking she was joking. She was not joking. After that weekend, I told Emma I couldn't do it again. It was too much. Babysitting a dog is one thing. Pretending he's an infant with a curated playlist and a diaper routine, that's performance art. Emma flipped out. She said, "If you can't support me now, how will I ever trust you with my real kids?" I said, "If your real kids wear diapers at 6 months old, fine. But if they also bark and chew shoes, I'm drawing the line." She hung up on me. Now Emma's telling the whole family I'm unsupportive and anti-child. My mom says I should just go along with it. It's not hurting anyone, and it means so much to her. But my dad muttered, "It's a dog," and poured himself another whiskey, so at least someone's on my side. Meanwhile, Emma keeps posting Facebook updates like, "Baby said his first word today, woof," and "Sleep training is going so well, he only whined twice last night." Friends and relatives are congratulating her like she's actually had a child. People are sending gifts. Someone mailed her a baby blanket embroidered with the puppy's name. And I'm the one who looks crazy for pointing out the obvious, so now I'm stuck. If I refuse to babysit again, I'm the bad sibling. If I agree, I have to spend another weekend living inside a parody of parenthood. And eventually, they're going to have real kids, which, frankly, is terrifying. Because if they're this intense about a puppy, how will they handle a human infant? So Reddit, am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit my sister's practice baby? Or should I just swallow my pride, grab the binder, and start singing "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star" to a confused golden retriever? This one is equal parts hilarious and alarming. On the surface, it's funny, parents-to-be playing house with a puppy, over-preparing for the future. But dig a little deeper, and it's a story about control. Emma isn't just practicing, she's scripting. She's trying to turn chaos, the chaos of real life, real kids, into something she can laminate in a binder. And that's not how life works. Here's the thing, you're not wrong for refusing. Babysitting is supposed to be about helping out, not entering a live-action simulation of The Sims Parenthood Expansion Pack. You didn't sign up for roleplay. You signed up for dog sitting. Verdict? Not the a-hole, just someone who recognizes that sometimes a puppy is just a puppy. Story 5. Am I the a-hole for refusing to join my roommate's pyramid scheme relationship group? I never thought moving in with a stranger I found on Facebook Marketplace would end with me being recruited into something that feels one PowerPoint away from a cult. But here we are. A little background. I, 24M, moved to a new city last year for work. Rent prices here are brutal, so I had to find a roommate. Enter Kevin. He seemed normal enough at first. Mid-20s, works in sales, owns too many colognes, but hey, red flags aren't always obvious in the beginning. We split chores, paid bills on time, and occasionally watched Netflix together. No issues. Until Kevin discovered what he called relationship optimization. At first, I thought it was just a self-help book. But no, it was an organization. One night, Kevin sat me down and said, "Bro, I've found the key to unlocking human connection." I braced myself for either a new dating app or a pyramid scheme. Spoiler, it was both. He pulled out a glossy pamphlet titled "The 6 Levels of Relationship Ascension." On the cover was a stock photo of two people high-fiving on top of a mountain. Kevin explained that he'd joined a community that helps people reach their full relational potential. It was like a mix of therapy, networking, and multi-level marketing. Members paid a monthly fee to attend seminars and were encouraged to recruit others to expand the circle of love. Sounded suspiciously like Herbalife, but for dating. Kevin started going to weekly meetings. He came back buzzing like he'd just returned from a rave full of catchphrases. We're not dating, we're ascending together. Breakups aren't failures, they're level resets. True intimacy requires multiple streams of emotional income. I thought it was just him being enthusiastic, but then he tried to rope me in. Bro, he said one morning while making eggs, you've got to come to a meeting. First one's free. You'll learn how to attract abundance in all your relationships. I declined. He pressed harder. It's not just dating. It's friendships, family, co-workers. We're building networks of love. I said I was busy. He said, that's your scarcity mindset talking. A week later, Kevin brought two community leaders to our apartment. They were a couple in matching polo shirts who introduced themselves as relationship coaches. They sat me down on the couch, handed me a clipboard, and asked me to rank my relationships on a scale of 1 to 10. I said, my relationships are fine, thanks. They leaned in. Fine isn't full potential. Wouldn't you like to level up? It felt like being asked to join a video game I didn't want to play. When I refused to sign up, they smiled tightly and said, that's okay. Not everyone is ready for ascension. Kevin looked disappointed, like I'd just turned down his invite to prom. After that, Kevin wouldn't let it go. He started leaving pamphlets on the kitchen table. He sent me links to relationship optimization podcasts. He even tried to role-play level 2 communication exercises with me while we were washing dishes. One night, I came home to find 10 strangers in our living room, sitting in a circle, holding hands, chanting affirmations about love being a renewable resource. Kevin waved me over enthusiastically. Bro, join us! This is level 3 connection! I backed slowly into my room like Homer Simpson disappearing into a hedge. The final straw came when Kevin introduced me to his new girlfriend, Megan. Except he didn't call her his girlfriend. He called her his downline partner. I nearly spit out my drink. He explained, she's on my second tier of ascension. If she recruits 2 more people into the network, she moves up to my level and we can share resources. I said, Kevin, that's literally a pyramid scheme. But with feelings, he got defensive. It's not a pyramid, it's a heart-shaped hierarchy. Megan just nodded serenely, like she'd been hypnotized by a motivational podcast. Now Kevin is mad at me. He says I'm being negative energy in the apartment and blocking his path to higher connection. He told me if I don't at least attend one seminar, he'll re-evaluate whether our living arrangement aligns with his relational goals. I told him flat out, I'm not joining a pyramid scheme disguised as therapy. He said, it's not a scheme, it's an opportunity. I said, yeah, an opportunity to drain my wallet and gaslight my love life. He slammed his door. So now the apartment is tense. He's still going to his meetings, still recruiting, still trying to sell me on emotional income streams. And I'm just trying to eat my cereal in peace without being asked if I want to ascend. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for refusing to join my roommate's relationship optimization group? Or should I suck it up, attend one meeting, and hope the Kool-Aid is at least tasty? This one is equal parts hilarious and terrifying. On the surface, it's funny. Kevin's invented language, the heart-shaped hierarchy, the downline girlfriend. But underneath, it's a story about manipulation. These kinds of groups thrive on people like Kevin, lonely, searching, eager for belonging. They wrap self-help in business jargon, sprinkle in some pseudo-spiritual wisdom, and suddenly you've got a cult with a PowerPoint deck. You're not wrong for refusing. Joining, even just once, risks being love-bombed and guilt-tripped until you're swiping your credit card for relationship crystals. Protecting your boundaries is the smart move here. Verdict? Not the a-hole. Just someone who recognizes that love shouldn't come with a subscription fee. Story 6. ITA for charging my friends entry fees to hang out at my apartment. Alright, buckle up, because this one makes me look bad, and I know it. I, 26M, live in a pretty sweet apartment. Downtown, big windows, rooftop pool, game lounge. The works. The kind of place people see and say, wow, must be nice. Truth be told, I can barely afford it. My job pays okay, but the rent eats half my paycheck. I justify it because I tell myself, hey, experiences matter. Life's short. And also, it looks great on Instagram. The thing is, once my friends saw the place, they started coming over. A lot. At first, I loved it. Everyone wanted to come to my place. We'd watch movies, play games, use the pool. I was the guy with the hangout spot. It felt cool. But then I realized I was footing the bill for everything. Snacks, me. Drinks, me. Cleaning supplies, me. Electric bill from 12 people using my Wi-Fi all night, me. And they weren't just visiting once in a while. They were basically living there 3 nights a week. Some even started inviting their friends over like my apartment was a public community center. So one night, while looking at my credit card statement and crying a little inside, I had an idea. The next time people came over, I greeted them with a smile and a little basket. $5, I said cheerfully. They laughed. I didn't. No, seriously, I explained. I can't keep paying for all this on my own. If you want to use my apartment as the group clubhouse, you chip in. They thought I was joking. I wasn't. Eventually, they each coughed up $5. I ordered pizza with the cash and thought, wow, this is genius. From then on, I implemented what I called the entry fee system. Every hangout night, anyone who came over had to pay $5. If they brought a guest, that guest paid too. I kept the money in a jar labeled Fun Fund. We used it for snacks, drinks, the occasional DoorDash order. At first, it worked. Nobody complained too much. Some even said it was fair. But then I got ambitious. One night, after a particularly big hangout where I collected almost $40, I decided to skim a little off the top. Instead of buying snacks, I used it to upgrade my Netflix plan and get extra streaming services. My logic? It benefits everyone. They'll thank me. Another time, I used the Fun Fund to buy a new controller for my PlayStation. Again, my logic? Everyone uses it. This is for the group. Then I started keeping a little for myself. Maintenance fees, I told myself. I'm the landlord of this friend group. Every landlord gets a cut. It all came crashing down during my birthday party. I invited everyone over, told them we'd do drinks, snacks, games, the usual. At the door, I cheerfully announced, special occasion tonight, folks. $10 entry fee. Birthday surcharge. They stared at me like I'd grown another head. One friend, Jess, said, "You're charging us to come to your birthday?" I shrugged. Hey, the money's going toward the party. It's basically like pitching in. She folded her arms. Yeah, but the way you're doing it makes it feel like we're customers at your apartment. I laughed it off and collected the cash anyway. The party was fine. Until halfway through, someone opened my closet looking for extra cups and found the Fun Fund jar with over $200 in it. Dude, they said, why are you hoarding all this? I tried to explain my system, how it wasn't hoarding, it was community management. But the damage was done. The next day, the group chat exploded. Jess, he's literally scamming us. Ben, I thought the money was just for pizza. Max, you used my $5 to buy your new controller, didn't you? I admitted, yeah, kind of. Now, half my friends aren't speaking to me. The other half say they'll only come over if it's free admission. One even said, bro, you turned friendship into a cover charge. So here I am, alone in my expensive apartment, wondering if I really am the hole. My logic? They were using my place constantly. I was bleeding money. I created a system where everyone contributed. That seems fair, right? Their logic. I turned hanging out into a business. I stopped being a friend and started being a bouncer with a jar. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for charging my friends to hang out at my apartment? Okay, yeah, this one's an a-hole move. On paper, asking friends to pitch in for snacks and drinks is totally reasonable. Lots of groups do that. But charging an actual entry fee at the door? That's not friendship, that's Ticketmaster. And the fact that you skimmed money for personal upgrades, Netflix, controllers, maintenance fees, that's where you crossed the line. At that point, your friends weren't contributing to a shared experience. They were funding your lifestyle. It's not evil, it's not unforgivable, but it is selfish. You treated your friends like customers, and nobody wants to feel like they need to buy a ticket to hang out with someone. Verdict? Yeah, you're the a-hole. Story 7. ATA for secretly replacing my girlfriend's homemade recipes with store-bought meals. Cooking is supposed to bring people together. In my case, it's slowly driving a wedge between me and my girlfriend. I'll start at the beginning. My girlfriend, Rachel, loves to cook. Or at least, she loves the idea of cooking. She follows food blogs, watches cooking shows, and collects cookbooks like they're trading cards. Every time we pass a bookstore, she drags me to the food section and sighs, "One day, I'll make every recipe in here." The problem is, she's not good at it. When we first started dating, she'd invite me over for home-cooked dinners. I was excited. Who doesn't love being cooked for? The first meal was spaghetti. Simple enough, right? Except she didn't drain the pasta water. She dumped sauce straight into the pot, so we ended up with soup. The second was grilled chicken. She cooked it at 400 degrees. For 10 minutes. It was raw in the middle, charred outside. I chewed politely and prayed for my immune system. But she was so proud. She'd beam at me and say, "Look at us, making memories." And I couldn't bring myself to crush her enthusiasm. Over time, Rachel developed what she called her specialties. A lasagna where the noodles were crunchy because she forgot to boil them. A curry where she used cinnamon instead of cumin. A signature salad that was just lettuce, raisins, and barbecue sauce. Every time she insisted it was unique and inventive. Every time I smiled and choked it down. But then she started cooking for my friends. One night, she invited my entire friend group over for a feast. She made meatloaf, except instead of breadcrumbs, she used crushed up Pop-Tarts. Strawberry. Halfway through the meal, one friend whispered, "Are we being punished?" Another quietly fed his portion to the dog under the table. Rachel beamed, oblivious, saying things like, "Isn't it fun to try something different?" After everyone left, my group chat exploded. "Bro, Pop-Tarts? I'm still chewing. Please don't let her cook for us again." I defended her, saying she was just creative. But deep down, I knew something had to change. That's when I had an idea. The next time Rachel offered to cook, I intercepted. While she was at work, I went to a local Italian deli, bought lasagna, garlic bread, and salad. I plated it all at her place before she got home. When she walked in, I told her, "I helped you out with prep." She popped it in the oven for 10 minutes, pulled it out, and proudly served it to me. She took one bite and said, "Oh my God, I nailed it this time." I smiled. "You really did." From then on, I made it a habit. Whenever she planned to cook, I'd assist. Translation: sneak in a store-bought meal, set it up, and let her take credit. Her homemade chicken parm, straight from the deli counter. Her signature chili, canned with a little garnish. Her perfectly grilled steak, courtesy of the steakhouse down the street, reheated in her pan. Every time she glowed with pride. Every time my stomach sighed in relief. But here's the problem. She's now obsessed with how much better she's gotten. She brags to her friends about her improvements. She even volunteered to cook Thanksgiving dinner this year. For both our families. Which means I'd have to secretly cater an entire holiday meal without anyone noticing. I panicked. It all blew up last weekend. Rachel invited her co-workers over for a potluck. She insisted on making her famous lasagna again. I panicked and bought one from the deli, same as before. But mid-dinner, one co-worker said, "This is amazing. Can I have the recipe?" Rachel froze. She laughed nervously and said, "Oh, it's just a family recipe." The co-worker pressed, "Come on, share the details. How do you get the pasta so tender?" Rachel stammered, You boil it for a while?" The co-worker frowned. "How long?" Rachel looked like a deer in headlights. Finally, she blurted, "I just wing it." That's when another co-worker said, "Funny, this tastes exactly like the lasagna from Marco's Deli." Silence. Everyone turned to look at me. I cracked. I admitted everything. Rachel was furious. "You embarrassed me in front of my co-workers," she said. "You lied to me. You undermined me." I tried to explain I was protecting her, that I didn't want her to feel bad about her cooking, that I just couldn't choke down crunchy lasagna anymore. She wasn't having it. "You didn't protect me? You humiliated me. You made me look like a fraud." Now she won't speak to me. My friends are split. Half say I did the right thing, sparing everyone bad meals. The other half say I'm a jerk for deceiving her, instead of being honest. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for secretly replacing my girlfriend's meals with store-bought ones? Oh, this one's rough. But honestly, yeah, you're kind of the a-hole here. Not for not wanting to eat raw chicken and Pop-Tart meatloaf. That's understandable. But for handling it with deception instead of honesty. You robbed Rachel of the chance to actually improve. Instead of saying, "Hey, maybe we can cook together," or "Hey, these recipes aren't working," you let her live in a fantasy where she thought she was becoming a master chef. And the worst part? You let her brag. You let her volunteer for Thanksgiving. You let her co-workers believe she was Gordon Ramsay in an apron. And when it all came crashing down, she wasn't embarrassed because of her cooking. She was embarrassed because you'd been faking it the whole time. Verdict: yeah, you're the a-hole. Not for wanting edible food, but for turning honesty into a long con. And that's where we'll end tonight's collection of stories. We've heard about roommates raiding snacks, exes reappearing in the strangest ways, girlfriends with imaginary twins, practice babies in diapers, pyramid scheme relationships, friends turned customers, and even the heartbreak of Pop-Tart meatloaf. Some of these stories made us laugh, some made us cringe, and a couple left us realizing, sometimes, yeah, people really can be the a-hole. But that's the beauty of these tales. They remind us how messy, funny, and human relationships can be. They're little snapshots of people stumbling, learning, and sometimes making fools of themselves, just like we all do. So whether you've been listening while stacking blocks in Minecraft, winding down after a long day, or drifting towards sleep, I'm glad you chose to spend this time with me. If you enjoyed tonight's video, don't forget to like, leave a comment with your favorite story, and subscribe for more long-form storytelling every week. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of the people around you, and remember, even when life feels messy, there's always a story worth telling.